In this tutorial, we'll go over the basics of the GoPro Max, how to change its settings, and even what they all mean. So let's get into it. There are 11 things on the GoPro that you should know about. First is the touchscreen, which displays all your information. Second, the 6 mics located around the GoPro. Third, the 2 cameras, one on the front and one on the rear. Fourth, the mounting forks, or as GoPro likes to call them, the folding fingers. To mount the GoPro to something of your choice, just undo the folding fingers, put them into a mount, and then screw it in. The fifth thing you should know is the shutter button. This is how you start recording or even take a picture. Sixth is the status light. There are 2 red lights that show up when you're recording. They are located on both the back and the front of the GoPro. Seventh is the mode button. You can click it to change into different modes or hold it to turn the GoPro off and on again. Eighth is the door with the door lock. The door and the door lock help with waterproofing and even protect the battery and SD card from getting wet. To open the door, slide down on the button until red is showing. The red symbol indicates that the door is unlocked. To open the door, you can pull down on it until it is open. Inside, you'll find the last 3 things. First is the USB-C port. This is great for charging your battery or even transferring videos and photos from the SD card. And 10th is the battery. To remove it, all you need to do is pull on the tab. You'll also notice that this is a longer battery than traditional GoPros. Lastly is the SD card. To access the SD card, you need to pull out the battery and then click on the SD card, and it will come right out. And then to put it back in, all you need to do is press down on it. While your GoPro is good to use after your initial setup, you may later want to change some settings or even modes. So let's go over how to do that. Here we have the main screen. Throughout it, you'll see different icons and even what the camera is seeing. For example, on the top left, you'll see how much space is left on your memory card. Top middle displays your video or photo mode that you're in. Top right is a percentage of how much battery you have left. In the middle, you'll see 2 different options. These can be changed based on your video settings. For example, in the middle left, I've chosen shutter speed, while the middle right is my exposure settings. The bottom left is your 360 and normal or hero modes. Bottom middle is your video photo settings, and bottom right is to switch between the front and rear camera lenses. This GoPro Max features several video and photo modes. To switch between different video modes, you can either swipe on the screen, left or right, to change, or click the mode button on the side. To switch between the 360 and normal modes, click on the globe or GoPro symbol on the bottom left of the screen. To change your settings for 360 modes, click on the video settings button at the bottom. From here, you'll see what presets you have saved. You can change your settings by clicking on the pencil icon on the right of the preset. Here you can change your resolution in frames per second. On the GoPro Max, you can have 5.6K or 3K with up to 24, 30, and 60 frames per second. However, on the 5.6K option, you'll notice that the 60 frames per second option is grayed out. In order to use that, you'll have to select the 3K option. Underneath, you'll find the Pro Tune options. These are the advanced settings for your camera. The first one is shutter speed. This is how many times per second the camera captures what's going on around you. You'll have various modes including auto, all the way to fixed settings. If you have a specific setting in mind, you can go ahead and set it, or just leave it on auto. EV Comp allows you the ability to manually set your exposure or the overall brightness of the photo. You'll notice that you can adjust the exposure in half steps from anywhere from -2 to +2. Next is white balance. This sets the color temperature for your white point, so you can make things colder or more blue, or warmer, which is more orange. And this is depending on where you're at. For beginners, I recommend using the auto feature. Next is your ISO min, which is minimum, or ISO max, or maximum. What ISO does for your video or image is boosts the brightness depending on how dark it is. However, when you do this, you may introduce digital noise into your video or image, and you may not want that. You'll notice this especially when capturing footage in darker places. Next is sharpness. Sharpness is used to describe the overall clarity in both contrast and even focus. If you plan on editing your videos, try to keep the sharpness down to a medium or low, because it's easier to add sharpness later in video editing than it is to reduce it. Next are your color options. This GoPro features two of them. The GoPro setting is the standard GoPro color corrected profile that we all have come to know, whereas the flat color profile produces a more neutral looking video that you can edit later to bring out more colors. If you're a beginner, however, I recommend leaving it on GoPro. Your 360 audio option allows you to either choose between recording 360 audio or just stereo. I personally love leaving it in the 360 option because then you can have 360 audio, and that's pretty cool. Next is your wind option. You can choose to add wind reduction to your audio. For beginners or people who don't like messing with audio, I recommend leaving it on auto. There are two other options, on or off. And lastly are the on-screen shortcuts. You can choose what settings you want to display on the home screen. The next video option is the 360 time lapse. There are two different options. The first option is time warp. This is great for when the GoPro is not stationary. For example, when you're hiking and holding the GoPro while walking. In here, you'll see some of the same settings as you saw before. The only new one is the speed setting. This is the speed at which your footage will be displayed. So 5x means 5 times as fast. The second time-lapse option is time-lapse. This is great for when you keep the GoPro stationary, like for example when you're filming a sunset and you leave your GoPro sitting in one place. You'll also see the same settings as you did before, except for two new ones. The first setting is interval. This is how often the GoPro will capture what's going on, and the interval setting is done in seconds. And then the second setting is format. There are two options. The first one is time-lapse photo, which means it'll take a photo at each interval and store them as photos. While the second option, video, captures a frame at each set interval and then compiles it together into a video for you. And the last 360 mode is 360 photo. Again, you'll see all of the same options as you did before, except for timer. This setting allows you to set a timer between when you click the shutter button and when it takes a photo. In the normal or hero modes, a lot of the same settings are actually shared between the 360 and normal modes. To switch over to the normal mode, all you need to do is click on the globe icon in the bottom left. Within the video options, you'll see 4 new options. The first one is lens. The lens option allows you to change how wide or narrow your field of view is. Next is the Max Hypersmooth. This is just stabilization for your video. Since it's a 360 camera, it does a fantastic job even if you move it around like crazy. You can either choose to have this on or off. Next is clips. This allows you to shoot quick 15 or 30-second videos when you hit the record button. It will stop recording for you once the time is up. You can choose to either have that off or set at 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And the last unique setting for this option is horizon lock. This setting allows you to capture footage with the horizon locked and level. This is great for stuff where the camera is going to be moving around quite a bit. This is great for sports such as skiing or surfing, In your normal mode, you still have time lapse. However, the settings are the same as the 360 time lapse. Next, when we go over to photo, we'll find two new settings. When you click on photo settings, you'll see photo and power pano. Photo is just your normal photo, whereas power pano takes panoramic photos for you. Within both these options, you won't find any new settings. To change your preferences at any time, swipe down from the top of the screen. Here you'll see various icons for different things. Starting from left to right, top to bottom, they are voice control, in which you can tell your GoPro to do certain things, camera beeps, where your GoPro will make sounds when you start recording and do other various things. Quick capture, which is instantly turning on your GoPro and recording what's going on just by pressing the record button. Screen lock. With it on, you'll have to click the button on the screen in order to unlock it. The rule of thirds grid. Orientation lock, and then finally the preferences button. To change different preferences, press the preferences button. The first one is the GoPro subscription. If you are subscribed to the GoPro subscription, you'll be able to have auto uploads to the cloud, or you can even manually upload your footage. The next one is connections. This is where you can connect your GoPro to different devices and even turn on its wireless communication. In general, you can turn on your beep volume, quick capture default. You can change that to be 360 or even the normal video modes. Turn on auto power. Turn on or off your LEDs. Change your video compression, the time, the date, and the date format. You can change your voice control options here. For instance, you can use various commands, which I'll list right here, and tell the GoPro to do certain things. But you'll be able to see a list of commands also on your GoPro down at the very bottom under commands. Next is touchscreen. You can change various things, including orientation, screensaver, and brightness. Regional allows you to select different options like GPS and even your language. The About section is different information regarding your GoPro camera. And then finally is Reset. From here, you can format your SD card, or even just go back to the original settings of the camera, or even reset your camera settings back to default. And that's everything on the GoPro Max.